I sold Pokemon cards all across the world. I remember first raise I did, 1.6 million. I'm like, that's a lot of money. A few people that I hired, frankly, they kind of stole our money. We're trying to raise the money and the money was not coming in.
The Just Say It podcast.
Another episode of the Just Saying podcast. We're with our good friend, client, Dustin Miles from Momentum Multifamily. Yeah. Dustin, it's great to have you, dude. Dustin is from the very beginning, as a kid, entrepreneur, athlete, owns multifamily, and just overall a great guy, great friend to have. But yeah, D, thank you again, man. I'm excited for the episode. I don't know if I introduced you right or not. Do you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah. I'll touch on a few things. Just kind of introduce myself. So I grew up in Fort Worth. Grew up playing soccer, and like you mentioned, I've always been pretty entrepreneurial. So I had a candy business, 8 years old as a little kid, and my bus driver called me the Candy Man, so it's kind of fun.
No way, I never knew that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Sold Laffy Taffy, Jolly Ranchers, and Blow Pops. Bought them from Sam's and then marked them up, and made a little bit of money. And I didn't eat all my profits, so it's good. But and then, kind of got into college.
And that's how he bought his first multifamily.
Off of candy.
Off of candy.
Yeah, right.
4 million blow pops later.
Yeah. I guess the entrepreneurial bug kind of bit again in college. And so I had I don't know if you know that, maybe you do, but I didn't know anything about them, but I sold Pokemon cards all across the world.
Really?
And so I would get calls from China in the middle of the night, like, "Hey, where are my Pokemon cards?" And I'm like, "They're coming," So, anyways, but it was interesting. So
Wait, do you still have any of the
Pokemon
cards? They've gone crazy
dude,
over the last few years.
I'd probably be in pretty sweet shape. Yeah. I had boxes and it was kind of, like I remember some of my friends, would like look in my room in my apartment like, "Dude, we need to have a conversation. Like, you got a lot of Pokemon cards in there." Like, because I had just boxes Pokemon. And boxes, against one wall.
Most people are worried about like making sure the dishes are cleaned and like it's cleaned up in a dorm room or with roommates, and Dustin just has 40,000 boxes.
Yeah, so I had, I always kind of kid around. I had 2 backpacks. I had, 1 engineering books, and then the other one was, a bag full of Pokemon cards I was about to mail off to China or wherever.
No way.
It was kind of weird. Like, my 2 biggest customers were New Zealand and in China. So I don't know, super weird.
What was your biggest year in Pokemon selling?
It was all pretty short lived. It was it felt like it went up and fizzled pretty quickly. It only lasted for a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. But I didn't sell a ton, but at the time I had no money and I was in college and barely kind of scraping by. So I maybe made, I don't know, 10, 15,000 a year, which
that's
I was living off ramen-noodles, so that was I was living the high life there. Yeah. So
that's pretty cool. I never knew that either.
Yeah.
So since you were a kid, you've had this entrepreneurial mindset, spirit, and excuse me. I know, obviously that's led you to where you are now. Mm-hmm. But by education, you are an engineer. Mm-hmm. What led you into engineering?
Yeah, good question. So I messed up whenever I was going, so I went to UT Austin for school, and I didn't know you had to apply early for the engineering school or the business school, and I didn't have I don't know. I didn't have like a whole lot of guidance along. It was kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna apply. And my guidance counselor, she's like, oh, because I was like, hey, I think I want to go to UT, and she's like, cool, just apply there. And so, I'm talking to like my niece applied to like 40 schools.
Yeah.
And I applied to one, and so I guess good thing I got in there. I didn't know better.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I'd apply early. So anyways, I got there, and they're like, I was like, oh, I wanted to go into the business school. And they're like, well, you didn't apply in time. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. So anyways, so I got there, and I was undeclared for my major. Mm-hmm. And so I took kind of like your all your pre-write classes you would take normally anyways. And so then I applied to the business school, and I applied to the engineering school. And I don't know, I guess I had some friends in engineering, so I think that did sway me a little bit. But I like a challenge. And so not to downplay, like I'm sure business school would have been challenging too, but I knew engineering would have been like a real challenge, and so that was appealing. So I went the engineering route kind of for the challenge, and I didn't have any money, and I thought I'd make more money sooner as an engineer than in business. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can kind of speak to that where, yes, I do see where you like challenges, right? And you still, to this day, challenge yourself, whether it be physically, mentally, being out there, networking, joining groups. So that's something that I admire about you, right? Not only you chose a path that would challenge you, and I think you were working before you went full time into multifamily. You were with
Lockheed
Martin. So had a good career out of it, and then physically, you're always doing like running challenges. Recently, dude, and this was amazing, and I think sometimes we do things right as a personal challenge, but don't realize the effect that has, or the potential effect that it can have in motivating others. Mm-hmm. And you ran from Fort Worth to downtown Dallas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I'd never heard of that, right? And I know people do challenges like that, but I didn't know anyone personally who had done something like that. And then D decided he was going to challenge himself and run from DFW to Dallas, and I helped out like that much, right? I came and ran the last 2 miles with you. Hayden came over from Houston too, and helped run your brother, and it was cool, dude. And when did you start realizing, or did you know that you liked to challenge yourself, that there was a benefit from it, and what's making these, what keeps you going back to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I don't know. I guess part of it I wanted, like, which sounds weird, I thought it'd be fun, even though it was not scenic at all. It was like feeder roads, and
we were running through the Trinity.
Yeah.
35 miles running just sounds like a delight.
Yeah, we went through not some like homeless parts of town and stuff like that. So it was not very scenic at all. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted I wanted a challenge, and then also it's that's when you grow, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're like, can I do this? I hope so. I thought I could do it, but like I hadn't done it before, and so it's kind of like a few years ago with the weightlifting. Mm-hmm. I'd never weightlifted in my entire life until I was like over 40, which is probably not I don't know. That's maybe not the time to start. I don't know, but and then I started doing back squats and deadlifts and all that stuff. And So I don't know. I think kind of once you get on that train of personal development and all that, it kind of starts to seep into every area of your life. Whether you're trying to, push yourself to be, better, husband, father, boyfriend, whatever your kind of titles are, business partner. So,
Sure.
so yeah, I don't know. Just I think innately, I'm always trying to get better, and so just like to throw those challenges out there, like to mix it up, and have fun, and then I can look back and like, hey, that was. It's a fun picture, and it was cool to get to do it with friends too. So
Does that come from somewhere? Or was that mom or dad or grandpa or somebody, friend or family as a kid that you were always doing stuff like that? Because along with I know those things go hand in hand, right? The entrepreneurial side, and like I heard a crazy stat the other day that the average Ironman finisher makes over $200,000 a year. And it was one of those things that, yes, I think the entrepreneurial spirit and the person that wants to continue to, push themselves in their personal life, they go hand in hand. But did that start somewhere, or was that just something that you were like, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I remember my mom is a kid. She was like, I don't know what you have, but like, she's like, I just want a little piece, of I guess the drive and all that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess some of it's innate, like on the entrepreneurial side. My dad had different businesses and all that. And so like he had this is like back in the 70s, he had a huge mail order business. And so he made it's weird to think about it, because he'd have a phone call with a person, but like a lot of the times people would mail him like really big checks, and they're like, they don't really know him, and at least
seen
like
each other.
Yeah, at least like now there's some electronic, whatever, and you can if someone doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, you can call your credit card company and cancel it, but like. A lot of that, you're just sending a check or a cashier's check or whatever. And so he'd get these checks in the mail, and then, he'd mail stuff off. And so it was just this very...
yeah, that's crazy how people would do it back then, right? Completely different.
Yeah. So very, 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 very different dynamic. So yeah, I think some of the entrepreneurial stuff probably got from him. But some of the drive stuff, I don't know. I think... soccer's probably kind of, helped out with that. You have that part of your life, and then you're wanting to get better and better and better, and then it kind of bleeds over into other facets of your life. So
It's true. I mean, youth sports are such a good, like, incubator of so many of those skills that entrepreneurs use on a daily basis, right? So for you, it's always been soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I played a bunch of other sports growing up, but soccer was kind of the main one. I'd play, pick up basketball and football and stuff, but it was always, really soccer. I played in middle school. I played baseball, so I'm organized. But
That's cool. That's really cool.
D, so what? Let's fast forward a little bit. What got you into what you're doing now, multifamily?
Yeah, part of it, this is not your normal path and kind of weird, but so I grew up going back to soccer. So I grew up playing soccer with this kid, and his parents owned like a lot of commercial property. In fact, they own a skyscraper. They still own it in downtown Fort Worth. And so I played soccer with this kid. I remember going to his house. Monster house. I mean, huge house. I was, like as a little kid, I came up, grew up in a very, just average house, 1,400 square feet, nothing fancy. And so to go to his house and see that was, made a pretty profound effect. And so, and this might sound kind of strange, but like as a little, I used to ride my bike all around town, just, I don't know, I guess, it's probably safer then, I don't know. But anyways, but I used to always kind of wonder, like, who owns all this stuff? And then this kid I played soccer with, I'm like, oh, well, his parents
They own it all.
they own this stuff. Yeah, and so I'm like, and like 8-year-old mindset's like, well, I watched them very, very carefully. I was like, they're normal people. It's not like they can fly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and no offense to their son, I'm better than at soccer than their son. So I'm like,
And I'm selling more lollipops than he is too.
So I'm like, well, why not me?
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of, sat around with me for a long time, and then, kind of have, met some people on the single family front. Most of the people I met were like, they owned like a house or like a duplex, or maybe like 3 or 4 was kind of mainly the max. I remember I met one person that owned like 7 or 8 or what. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But I remember, I think I met him in like 2006 or so. This guy, and he was just one guy. He worked a normal job, and he bought like 40 units.
Yeah.
And I never met anyone that owned more than like a few. And so, and he was based in Dallas, and this property was in Oklahoma. And so I was blown away. I was like, wow, you own 40 units. And, so I remember I was like,
Are you still close, or do you still stay in touch with this guy? Or?
It's been a few years. But yeah, it's funny. He'd never invested with me, but we just kind of kept in touch. I'm not like a pushy, like go invest with me,
right,
type of guy. But it's probably been a few years since I've talked to him, so I'll have to reach out to him. But yeah, I remember meeting him. I remember I was like, taking him to lunch, and I was like, very super intrigued. I was like, how'd you do this? And so,
Going back a little bit, see if we can go a little deeper on this one. The misconception that some of us have when we see someone that we deem successful, and the misconception that we have that, man, they must be very special. They must be doing something that, I may or think I can't figure out. And you realize that as a kid, right? Growing up with your friend's house. But what would you say to that, for someone that maybe has that mindset or has that belief?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if, I don't know, this sounds pretty simple or whatever, but like if you don't believe you can, then why should someone else believe you can? And so I don't know. I mean, there's so many instances in history where they're like, no one can break the 4-minute mile. No one can do it. And then once someone broke it, then like multiple people broke it right after that.
Around the world.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like very instantly. And it's pretty interesting. I don't know how much you guys follow track and all that, but I don't know if it's the training or if it's like mindset or a little bit of both, but like there's a lot of records being broken right now in track and field, which is super interesting.
Well, the marathon, right? What was it, the 2 mile or the 2 hour barrier? Or what was it for a marathon that was like 4 or 5 years ago was just unheard of. Everybody was trying it, and now it's, I think every major race everything's coming under 2 hours now.
Yep.
The mindset flip is pretty crazy once people believe, this is possible. I mean, of course, we continue to use, newer technologies, things like that continue to help. But what do you think is like the biggest barrier that people hold themselves to when it comes to trying something new, or they want to get into something new, like that you've seen?
Yeah, I think people just have to be okay with, whatever you do, it's not going to be perfect. I remember I did a LinkedIn post earlier this week. I'm doing a LinkedIn post challenge, so you're supposed to post every day. and it was I posted about my first rental property I bought in 2009. It was not perfect, but like you just have to kind of take that first. You can't learn anything. You can take all these classes, you could like go to all these meetups, but like the real learning, starts when you take action and you like take that first step and getting that first deal, whether it's passively or single family or whatever. And I ended up holding that deal not intentionally. I thought I was going to buy it for a few years and sell it. But I ended up renting it out, and there were some things I didn't know at the time that, looking back, I'm like, oh wow, this worked out really well. So this is it was a good sized house for rental houses, 2,300 square feet, but it was all tile, and so that really helped with any turnover. Because a lot of turnover, as you guys know, is flooring and all that. And so I didn't have to, I think I did have to paint, once or twice, but it wasn't, too bad. But I didn't have a flooring cost. And so that helped out a lot with the cash flow.
I think, a couple of days ago, I was having a conversation with a close friend who's been doing, working towards something that he's been wanting to do, and he's been doing all the right things and, going and meeting and all this stuff, and, he's kind of feeling a little down because he's not necessarily seeing the results that he's looking for yet.
Yep.
Right. And, part of that conversation was, hey, you're more than capable, you have the ability to, you're doing the right things, but at some point you have to just take that leap. You can't wait for things to be 100% perfect.
Yep.
You're gonna stay in the sideline. You're gonna be stagnant.
Yep.
So to your point, Dee, I think a huge part of it is understanding that, I'm gonna jump into whatever this endeavor is. It may be new, completely new. You may have a little bit of experience, but you have to jump. You have to go into it, knowing that it's not going to be perfect.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of it. You're going to learn certain things from it. Hey, and you may learn that it's not going to work out. And then you're going to learn how to deal with that.
Yeah.
You may learn, you'll have hurdles, you'll have setbacks, and those will teach you something. So.
Yeah. Well, and then it could be, you get into something and then you pivot, and the thing you pivot to, you would have never known to pivot to, and if you didn't do that first thing.
Yeah. So. Going back to learning those first lessons. So you go from working at Lockheed, you're like, you know what, I want to find something better or find something else that continue to grow, things like that. And the single family was the first thing that you looked at, or was there other opportunities that you were like, you know what, I want to jump into?
No, I tried a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
I remember I tried forex trading.
I tried a little bit of that. Forex.
Yeah, I was
pips and
I was not so great there. I tried multi-level marketing, which maybe embarrassing, maybe not, I don't know, whatever.
Hey,
but
I'm from Utah. That's the hub.
Nick started it.
Yeah. So I tried that.
Do y'all remember Cutco by any chance?
Yeah.
I think they're still around, but I remember them coming to our high school and like recruiting us and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's one out there that I probably haven't heard of at this point with coming from Utah. But
I tried a few things, and then kind of started to have, so I did half a dozen rentals and flips, and so I started to get some success on the real estate side. I'm like, okay, cool. I have people that can help me. That first rental part of it was pretty close to where I lived. So I've, basically anytime I'm getting into anything, I'm trying to stack as many cards in my favor as possible, because I'm trying to, yes, it's not going to be perfect, but like I want to make sure I'm not like, badly damaged financially or otherwise. And so, yes, there might be some bumps along the way. There probably is. That's every business and that's life. but I'm just trying to make sure that it's not too bad. So a lot of times on a lot of this stuff, I was either, hired a coach, I partnered, trying to do everything I can to take risk off the table.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
And
what.
that's also another thing. D, I think that makes you, successful and at least gives you a better shot at being, doing things right, being successful. Is if it's one thing that I've learned from you too is you've never been. You're always open to learning, whether that be by hiring a coach or through somebody else. But you're not only challenging yourself, you're also coachable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge quality that a lot of, I think people who stay in the arena for a long time, I think it's a quality that they all share.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I wanted to ask was, I'm sure there's plenty of people watching this that, have either thought about getting into, the multifamily space or the commercial space or whatever that is and not know where to start. And you talked about hiring a coach or hiring somebody and spending the money on yourself to get better. I think there's a lot of people out there that are scared to do that or may feel like, hey, I might just go waste my money doing this. Why was it so important for you, or why is it so important?
I mean, I was just trying to, on the single family side, so I had a few people that I'd hired and frankly, like some of them ghosted me and they kind of stole our money. And, it is what it is. You live and learn. But I found one group, so Lifestyles Unlimited. I was like, okay, they have an office. They're not going anywhere. They're on the radio. I know where they are. And so I had some success there. And then, from there, I, was ready to do multifamily, and the coach there left, and then he started his own gig, Brad Sumrock, and so I followed him over there, and but yeah, I just, especially on the multifamily, both on the single family and multifamily side, like multifamily, you're raising a lot of money from a lot of people. It's a ton of responsibility. I remember, the first raise I did, was 1.6 million. I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do everything I could to, like I mentioned, take risk off the table and just try to, give everyone, the best chance to succeed. So, and it helped. I think the first deal was fairly close to me. It was like 15 minutes away. I was familiar with the area. My dad kind of grew up not too far from there, so some familiarity. So I don't know, that kind of worked. But as far as your question about, I would say if you're interested in multifamily, I'd just go get educated. I think you guys have had some other, a lot of other multifamily people on, so I'd listen to this podcast, and there's other podcasts out there too.
Yeah. And I guess to that question, right, of maybe the person that is trying to get started, doesn't have all the money in the world, and maybe can't afford to go spend thousands of dollars on trying to either jump into a group or pay for a coach. You talked about earlier about just buying somebody coffee, buying them lunch, right? What are some other like important ways that you've seen like work in that personal education?
I mean, there's so many resources now. I mean, YouTube, you could spend, hours and hours. There's plenty of books too. But I think just trying to educate yourself, trying to, there's, you guys, a lot of power and proximity. And so, if you're wanting to go be a sprinter, go hang out with sprinters. Or if you want to go be a marathon runner, go hang out with those people. If you want to do multifamily, come, hang out
with us.
Yeah, exactly. So, so just, it depends on, what you want to do. But I think once you kind of, start going to the meetups, you get a grasp of the lingo. And then, if there's any educational opportunities, don't be bashful about asking like, hey, is there a way I can help? Like maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but at least you're kind of putting yourself out there. So.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And speaking of challenges, How's the multifamily world right now?
Oh gosh, it's been I mean, just to be very blunt, I mean, it's been super challenging. I think that the past few years, everything that could have gone against you has gone against you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is, those tides are turning right now. Insurance has already come down very considerably, which is, nice. And it's a big, it's a big boost to NOI. It's a big boost to cash flow. So that's been nice. Property taxes are chilling out as well.
Right.
Rates have come down some, not as much as everybody wants. Will they come down more? I don't know. Actually, multifamily rates, just in general, I know single family rates have been kind of high. Those are coming down too, but multifamily rates, like we can get a loan right now for, agency quote, high 4s, low 5s right now, which is
I mean, that's not bad.
That's a good rate.
It's way better than they were, a year or two ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing right now is there's no rent growth right now, at least in kind of the Sun Belt, just kind of anywhere that they built a lot of apartments.
Right.
There's no rent growth. So the Midwest did not build much. And so I believe, I don't own up there, but I believe they're seeing rent growth. But everywhere they built, Florida, Texas, Arizona, they built a lot. So no rent growth. So we're seeing a ton of concessions. I'd say over the holidays that's the toughest kind of Q1, Q4 we've ever seen. We've never had to do 2 months free before.
Right.
It's been like $500 off, pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Like, just to be honest, like we had to go, we were like, oh my gosh, the faucet turned off. Like, we've got to get this ramped up. And so we were doing, I think it depends on the property, we were doing, a few weeks free or a month free, and we weren't seeing a whole lot of traction. So we went to 2 months because we had to compete with our competitors.
Yeah.
We're kind of we've seen a ton of traffic to where, I mean, like one property, it's a bigger property, but we saw 20 applications in 1 week.
Oh, wow.
Which
huge.
is, I mean, that's a lot. Think about how many calls, and I mean, think about all the all the work that goes in behind just one, much less 20 of those in 1 week. So we're seeing a lot of those tides reverse, and it feels like leasing season has come a little bit early. Normally it's, kind of, later March and April and May and all that. But like we started seeing a lot of traffic in kind of late February, which is interesting. And so we're really, we're excited about the leasing season. Hopefully that'll be, really good for everyone. But, right now, and we haven't, still, hopefully we'll see some rent growth out of this too. But yeah, it's been pretty tough in general. So
you talked about concessions. What's the wildest concessions that you've seen? I saw one time somebody was doing 12 weeks free and a 55-inch TV, and I was like, that's pretty wild.
Yeah. It's like you're having to wait 6 months to actually make any money. That's about 12 weeks free is kind of the max I've seen. I haven't seen any more than that, but that's tough. That's I mean, to your point, it's like, how can you make money if, and then hopefully they actually pay, and they actually have money to pay. So, but we've seen, fraud's been a big thing. I think we've got a pretty good solution to that part. We've tried a few different services, and I think I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now, but I think we have a pretty good solution there. And then we signed up pretty recently with Guarantors. Guarantors is a program that also helps with screening tenants, but also if they're kind of borderline, they will, and if Guarantors is comfortable with it, they'll basically back that tenant.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Smart way to do it.
Is that a newish service?
It's newish. It's not, I don't think it's brand new, and there's been some other programs similar to that, but this one, they'll, and if the tenant the resident doesn't pay for whatever reason, they're a backstop, for them. So,
Right.
takes a lot of risk off the table for us.
That's cool.
What do you think has made you and your partner Hayden successful through this cycle?
I think part of it is kind of checking egos at the door. Helps a lot. I think we kind of hit on it, being coachable. Helps a lot. I think just like it's okay. I don't have all the answers. He doesn't have all the answers, and hopefully between a few of us, we've got some answers. So I think just being coachable, willing to learn, willing to change, willing to adapt, and knowing that. I remember I was talking to someone the other day. So we were on during COVID, which is crazy. That was like 6 years ago, but whatever. Feels like it wasn't that long ago.
Yep.
But I remember being on all these webinars because there wasn't as much to do. And so we were listening to, I remember there was one webinar. There are these guys that owned, they owned between each of them $5 billion, $10 billion worth of apartments. And I remember the moderator was like, hey, what are you guys going to do right now? And how do you, defend against this? How do you defend against that? And all of them were like, we have no idea. And so it was very enlightening for us. We're like,
Right.
if these guys don't know, how are we supposed to know?
Yeah.
And so I guess the point is like, it's okay to not know the answer, but it's not okay if you know of a problem to like not talk about it and bring it on the table.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's helped a lot. I think being proactive has helped. I think actually making a decision, and like whether it's the 100% right one or not. Sometimes we don't know until we have some more data, and we look back and we're like, oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But sometimes we've made a few decisions where we're like, that wasn't, and then we pivot, and we learn. But I think at some point we've seen some other groups. I think that one thing that helped is it's basically, I mean, we have other partners and stuff, but I think when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, that can really, really slow down some things. And so, and we saw with some other groups where there wasn't a definitive like who's making the decision here.
Yeah.
And so I think when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, and there's just you're just not moving forward and making decisions, and whether it's the right path or not, like who knows? But you have to do as much homework as you can on the subject, and then at some point you have to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So
That's something that I think we try to do our best here at internally, and we sometimes have to make decisions on the fly very quickly. Sometimes we have all the information to make, and that will make that decision easy. Sometimes we don't.
yeah,
But one thing that I mentioned to some of our team members, it's okay to not have all the answers. If you have to make a decision, make the decision. We will quickly find out if it was the right one or the wrong one. If it was the right one, awesome. We all move on, right? If it was the wrong one, well, guess what? We'll find out, and we'll learn from it, and we'll know how to adjust. We're not just going to sit there. We will adapt. We will pivot, and we'll make it right. But 100%, I think a lot of times, a lot of the issue is in not making the decision.
right,
And taking too long to make the decisions.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're just waiting to figure out if you made the right decision anyways.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I was going to mention real quick, the thing that comes to mind is the tax abatement thing for when we're talking about this. And so we didn't have all the information, and it was honestly kind of, we tried to do as much homework as we could. We talked to all these different people. I mean, we had a fork in the road. We could go do it with the local tax authority or housing authority, or we could do it with a traveling. And we had people telling us to go do the traveling, multiple people telling us to do the traveling. And I'm like, then in there, we were like, okay, well, what are the pros of this? What are the cons of this? And so we're like, there's a lot of gray over here, and this feels a lot more solid. We're not dealing with just like our money. Like we have, all these people, all their, 10, $15 million of equity, big deals, like. And so in our minds, like anytime we're kind of at a fork in the road, like we're going to go more conservative. I mean, we're dealing with like a lot of money here. And so, we saw some other groups, they never made a decision. They just sat here because they didn't know which way to go. And then they missed the boat.
Missed the opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that housing authority in particular, Houston Housing Authority, they did their last tax abatement that I know of, I believe April of last year.
Yeah.
And two of our properties were the two of the last ones to get in.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that was all during a pretty wild time in the space already. And going back to what you were saying about during COVID, right? And kind of tying it into making those decisions, there was a lot of unknown. Let's make a decision. Let's figure it out. I'm sure you guys had to get very creative with a lot of the issues that you guys were coming across. What were some of those creative decisions that had to come into place, like leasing, right? Like
leasing was a big deal. I remember we bought a deal in the middle of COVID, and I remember having to wear a mask. I remember taking a selfie right before I went into Wells Fargo with a mask on, which is, if you just...
You closed Liberty Hills at the very beginning of...
Yeah, that raise was really challenging. So we had to pivot because we were trying to raise the money, and the money was not coming in. Everyone was scared.
Yep.
And so, I mean, and you had to think about it, like people, they had to go make an appointment just to go wire money, and then they had to wear a mask, and it was a whole thing and all that. And so we had to pivot. We had to go get preferred equity. I don't even know if I really knew what preferred equity was before,
Really?
we got
So
into
it wasn't like a big thing before COVID?
I mean, it was, but we just hadn't dealt with it all.
Gotcha.
I don't even know if maybe we talked to a few preferred equity shops, but it wasn't something we'd really looked at. And then we were having to get real creative real quick, and we basically got a master's education in preferred equity over the course of a month or so.
Yeah.
And so anyways, it worked out. We actually refied them out last year, cashed them out, so they're out of the deal. So, but we didn't know what we were doing, and then it was build the airplane as you're falling out of the sky. So
That's wild.
yeah.
Wild times back then.
Yep.
You're right. It is crazy. That was 6 years ago.
So, outside of, obviously still being very physically active, buying and operating multifamily properties, you're a dad, right? And you have, which Henry, your properties are named after, which is super cool. I don't know if he's ever done a show and tell about it. But,
These are my properties. My dad sold candy, and now I have these.
But it's cool. And I've known Henry since he was, I think I met him when he was about, 7.
Yeah, he's
somewhere
pretty
around
small.
there. He's now like 15, I think.
14. Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
So what? And I know you're short on time, and you got to run. But if you're giving advice, what is something that you tell Henry to maybe focus on, or what type of advice are you giving him right now?
Yeah. I think I think just being consistent is big. I think just trying to provide value. I think people who provide value are going to be coveted, and is at least on our end, especially kind of, our, some staff at some of the properties and all that, like it's hard to get people, who are, do what they say they're going to do and show up, have a great attitude and all that. And so, there's only like a handful of things that you can really control, in your life, and it's your attitude, effort, and maybe one or two other things. And so just really trying to focus on those few things that you do have a little bit of control over, because it's interesting, because if you really think about it, like, we don't have, like, no one knew COVID was going to be around the corner, and then all these things change. And so, it's amazing how little control, well, we think we have a lot of control, but, like, I don't know, stuff can happen quickly, health-wise or whatever. And so I think just trying to, with him, be coachable, be humble, provide value, and just habits are huge in general.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are things that, they're fundamentals, right? And you're right, especially nowadays with, how quickly AI is being integrated into our day-to-day and into our future. I think those are going to be rare commodities. Showing up with some of our values, right? Showing up with integrity, saying, doing what you say you're gonna do, your attitude, right? Effort. Yep. So, well, cool. D, thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, I think again, admire what you do. The congrats on your properties, on multifamily, on your you still play 2 soccer games every Sunday, which is crazy. I tore my Achilles 3 years ago, and I'm too scared to hop on the court on the field again. But no, thank you, dude. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
And I'm looking forward to our next one.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thank you.
This was fun.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.